Hello, my name is Leroy Blevins. Welcome to Mysteries and Histories. In this episode here, what I want to do is I'm going to talk about lining up the shots and getting information in the JFK assassination. Now, if you watch my videos and if you read my book, you'll see there's a lot of information that I uncovered from the films and images and other things as well in the JFK assassination. But what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to show you how I come across all this information because I get emails and stuff from people and they ask me, how did I figure out the timelines? How did I figure out the distance where the gunmen were? And how do I find their shots and everything else? So what I'm going to do in this video here is I'm going to show you some examples of what I've done to find the gunmen and their locations and how I found out more information on top of that. Now, the first key fact in when you're doing an investigation is finding a location where there was a gunman at. Now, we know that Lee Harvey Oswald is on the 6th floor Texas School Book Depository, but we're taking a guess on where the other gunmen were if there was other gunmen in JFK assassination. But as I point out and as I found in by photographic evidence and images, there was other gunmen there. It's just it was overlooked because of the rumor started about films and images being altered. But anyway, what I did was, first thing I had to look for is when I watch a Zapruder film is when shots made impact with JFK, Governor Connally, or in the surroundings. So we're going to use this example. The gunman on second floor County Records Building, and the second shot was fired that day, and that was a headshot to JFK. Now, what I did was I go to the frame of 29, frame 229 of the Zapruder film. This is when the impact of the bullet struck JFK in the back, because we can see the impact of the bullet into the back of JFK's head, plus blood spatter coming out. This is the second time he got shot. So, excuse me, I'm a little congested because of this weather up and down. But anyway, to make sure that this was a shot and the impact and stuff, what I did was, as you see here, which I'm going to have to shrink a little bit so you can see it all images right here. As you see, I had to make sure that it was a shot. I mean, we can see the impact and we can see the blood spatter, but I had to make sure it was a shot to the back of JFK's head. So I had to look for evidence to make sure that there was a shot to the back of JFK's head at this point. But we see by the reactions, his hands and arms was like this. But then when he was shot, right here, we see his arms going up, his shoulders goes up, and his head goes forward, and to his hands and stuff, as you see right here. So I had to make sure that it was a shot. And by photographic evidence and stuff, as you see right here, okay, we can clearly see there was a shot that struck JFK by frame 229. After finding this shot, I had to go back and see where this shot came from. Now, it didn't line up, okay? It didn't line up to the 6th floor Texas School Book Depository because Oswald just got done taking the first shot, okay? He was shot first in frame 224, and this shot here happened in frame 229. So the time frame in between there was too short for Oswald to take a shot and then another shot. So this indicates to me that, hey, there was a second gunman. So the next thing I done was, well, I started looking at other images and other films to see if there was another gunman shooting from behind, because these shots didn't come from the front. They came from behind of JFK. And then I looked at the Texas School Book Depository, which I knew Oswald couldn't take a shot right after the other because he was using an action bolt rifle, not an automatic rifle. So I knew the shot didn't come from there. Second thing I had to look for was either the Dow Tex building or maybe the Records building. And then when I was going over the Bell film and other films, I went over the Muchmore film first, and I seen somebody in the second floor window, which you see right here. This is a film I went before I went through the Bell film, and I seen somebody standing right out here, so I wanted to see who that really was, because we can't see nobody, in the Dow Tex building, only in right here. So when I started looking, and I got the Bell film, and I seen this frame here, and I zoomed in, And Lord and behold, there he is. There's the gunman. We can see him holding a rifle in his hand. Right here. We see the rifle. We can even see the shadow of the rifle right here. So after I found this out, okay, now I knew JFK was shot in frame 229. And then I found in the Bell film, and in much more film, a gunman hanging out of the window of the second floor of the county records building. So I started studying other film stuff to see if there was a shot fired from that location. And in the Hughes film, a shot was fired, as you see right here. When we watch the frames, we can see this is the frame that was a shot was being fired from this window location right here. So what I had to do was I went ahead and took this frame and this frame, and I lined them up. Oops. I lined them up just to make sure that this shot came from the same window where we see the gunman. We see the gunman right here hanging out of the window with his rifle, and we see the shot being fired right here. So these line up. So I went ahead and did this. Let's see. Excuse me, I'm still congested, like I said. I wanted to make sure. So first thing I did was basically take the much more film, line it up with the Bell film, and we see the gunman in both frames. And then after I found the shot, I wanted to make sure that we have the window right here, and this is the gunman right here, and this is the window he was hanging out of right here, and this is where the shot occurred, from that window. So see, I had to line all this up, but I still kept on digging more and more because there was a lot of more information I needed to find out on this. So what I did next was I looked at this image right here, which is All-Gens image number 6. At this point, I already knew JFK was already shot once in the back, and then we just seen him getting shot in the head, in the back of the head, the impact of the bullet. So what I had to do when I was looking at that image is I had to line up and see exactly when that image was taken so I could get more information from it. And then when I started viewing this, comparing to this Pruder film, I found out that All-Gens image number 6 was taken by frame 254 of this Pruder film. And JFK was shot in frame 229 in the back of the head. So at this point, I was like, okay, now I have to backtrack. So we know that from All-Gens image number 6 and frame 254 lining up, that when this image here was taken, JFK was already shot twice, once in the back and then once in the back of the head. So now we have to go back frame. And why I did this is because I was studying the cars, as you see the vehicles right here. Because when I looked at the vehicles, this gave me information because I see JFK's limo, Secret Service agents in a follow-up car, Lyndon B. Johnson's car, and then another car behind it, which helps me out in the long run. Because when I start lining up, I started looking at this image right here. Let's see. This is when the shot occurred. Now, that image that I see, that I show, of All-Gens image number 6, shows this car right here. If you watch my cursor, this car right here. So I went ahead and lined that up, as you see right here. I lined up this car with this car here. So when I backtracked this car was still on Houston Street, and this car was already on there. So we backtracked them frames all the way back to 229 in this Pruder film, and we see this car still on Houston Street, and now we know the shot fired from the second floor of the county records building. Now this traces back all the way to frame in this Pruder film by the locations of the cars at a certain time, by lining up with other films and images, lines up to where frame 229 was. So at that point, I knew JFK was shot in the back of the head by frame 229. The Hughes film shows us that shot being taken, and the Pruder film shows the bullet impact in the back of JFK's head. So now at this point, it's like, okay, now I know that JFK was shot here and stuff, but I want to find more evidence. I want to make sure that there was actually a shot taken in the back of JFK's head. And in this image here, we can see that bullet hole right here. That's the bullet hole, and that's in the same location of the impact that we see in frame 229 of Zapruder film. To double check that, I go into the autopsy images, and we can see this is bullet hole number 1. That'll be the first shot to the back of JFK's head right here, which we can see on the inside of the scalp, the bullet holes. But this is the one shot I'm talking about right now. That's this shot right here. We can see the bullet hole in the skull area and in the scalp area. So we know JFK was shot in the back of the head. This is a fact now. Frame 229 Zapruder film shows us this. Autopsy images shows the location of where that bullet made contact with. The Bell film shows us the location where that gunman was at. The Hughes film shows us where that shot was fired and shows us that shot being fired to the back of JFK's head. Now we have all that information. Next thing I did was take a map like this, mark down the location of when that headshot to JFK happened. Now, as you see here, when you're looking at this view here, you got to understand that there was still, actually, if you view it this way, you will still see that JFK's limo was still right there by the Stemmons Freeway sign. But this is an angle that we have to look at, because remember, the view when he first started coming out from behind the Stemmons Freeway sign was way back here. When we're looking at aerial view, when we're looking at ground level, it looks like he's already fully past it, but he wasn't. He's actually in this location here. When we look at the aerial view of it, this is the location of JFK's limo at the time when his shot occurred. So I placed the images of the cars back in their places at the time when that shot was fired. And as you see here, I placed the gunman's location right here, with we see in the Bell film, the Hughes film where we see the shot being fired at, and then in frame 29, 229 Zapruder film, right here when the bullet made contact, and we know we have a location of a gunman, we know the location of JFK's limo, and when we look at the time frame and watching the Zapruder film, we see the time frame of this shot when it made impact was 7.58 seconds from the beginning, starting with frame 133 to frame 229 was 7.58 seconds. So that's how I got my time frame, by basing it on that, from when the beginning, when we start seeing JFK's limo, to frame 229. Then we stop it there, and then we have our time frame. Now, the distance wasn't really that hard to find out. After you find the location of the gunman and the shot where the shot came from and the location of JFK's limo, we can measure from this point to this point here, and then we come up with 294.18 feet, or 98.6 yards. This is how I get this kind of information. Once you find the location, when you place the limo back into the location where the bullets made contact with JFK or Governor Connally, you place in the time frame, then you view the Zapruder film, and you mark down that time when that shot made impact, either with JFK, Governor Connally, or the surrounding areas like the manhole cover or anything else like that. You stop at that point, you have your time frame of when these bullets made contact. Then, when you know the locations of the gunman, when you find the locations of the gunman, then you make that distance of that shot from where the gunman's location was at that time, by based on time frame as well. You'll find a true distance in between the shot he took, the gunman, and where that bullet made contact. This is how I got a lot of information. A lot of which I put into a lot of details. This is how I can find out things. This is how I can solve things better when you put things in time frames. And when you find the evidence, you piece all this evidence together. Then you know the locations, you know where the shots made contact with. And then you line up all these films and all these images with one another. You get a lot more information. That's why I claim and why I tell people the films and images had a lot of information in it. All you had to do was sit back, view it, pinpoint everything, piece it all together, and all this information starts coming out. Just like when we go to time frames, as I point out, when it comes to the time frames, you indicate when each shot made contact with JFK, Governor Connally, or in the surroundings. And after you make them points, then you go ahead and view the Zapruder film, starting with frame 133. You can't start with frame 1001 because it doesn't show JFK's name or not. We have to go by the point of when JFK's name was first seen in the film, which is frame 133. Then we start running the film at normal speed, and then every time when you reach to a certain frame, then you stop it, and then you get your time frame from it, as you see right here. Now, a time frame can also give us a lot of information as well. Okay, after we mark the location of where these shots made contact with, as you see here, back of JFK, back of JFK's head, right side of Governor Connally, right side of JFK's head. As we go along and you mark all this down, so now we know exactly pinpoint when each shot was occurred, where they made contact with. Now we have 2 time frames, but we have more information we can pull from these time frames as well, as you will see right here. Now we have the location. So now we got one information of time frame. We have another information of where these shots made contact with. Now we have other information where these shots came from. So now we got 3 more pieces of evidence that we can add onto our case. Then we go into this. These time frames can also give us a lot more information as well, because now we could tell exactly how much time was in between each shot. So we could tell if this assassin was using an automatic rifle or a bolt action rifle. Okay, but we could tell this by the time frames. And now we also could find out between shots 1 and 5, the 2 Oswald took, we know exactly how much time he had in between them 2 shots as well now. Okay, he had over almost 7 seconds in between the 2 shots he took, instead of additional 6 seconds as they want to put and claim for 3 shots, when actually was 2 shots fired within that 6 seconds or 7 seconds. But we could have more information now. Now we get more facts from it instead of false claims and false images. Then, after we do that, then we get the distance when we pinpoint the location of where JFK's number was at the same time when them bullets made contact. And then we go from where the gunman was at. Now we have the distance of where each one of these shots made contact with. So now we have the distance between the gunman and JFK or in the surroundings when he was making contact. I just want to give this information out here to let people know that this is only a little part of how I pieced everything together and how I get my information. There's a lot more information can be revealed, but we're going to do that as we go along. And I'm going to show a lot more as I go along as well. So don't forget that like button, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to tell your friends about us, share this video with people on social media and stuff, and you have a pleasant day.